Welcome to season 3, episode 3. We got Winston here from, did I hear it correctly? You're in Nashville now?
I'm in Nashville.
All
Yep,
right.
just north of Nashville. Originally from New Orleans.
New Orleans, which are two areas. I've been in Nashville. Me and Dan have both been in Nashville. Bunch of fun. New Orleans, I've never been, but I've heard it's a big party.
It is. It is.
A huge party. And the music there is kind of what I want to see.
Yep, the music's good. The food is phenomenal. The people are good people, but it's just dirty.
That's what I've heard.
Needs more sweet sweepers.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, I mean, I always start out the same show with a little background about you, and I'm sure we're going to touch on the move from New Orleans to Nashville. So before we jump into the show and find out more about you, can you give me and the people listening kind of a background of who was Winston before real estate?
Okay. So I'm going to go through this real quick because if I don't, it'll take more than an hour to do it. I don't think we have that long. So I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. I was born into a poor family. My dad had just got out of Vietnam, and he came back with certain issues that he's dealt with his whole life from that right there. And we just lived our whole life poor. Lived in an abusive home, and abusive to it was abusive to those standards. It's really abusive to today's. But getting a butt whipping was just part of your daily activities. And at 17, I decided I was going to move out of my parents' house and make my own way. And I graduated high school not being able to read. So I didn't learn to read till I was 30 years old. But
really?
I went to work for a local hotel in New Orleans, and I went to work in their accounting department and did phenomenal. From 18 to 21, I had been promoted from general storeroom to accounts receivables, accounts payable, inventory control, chief accounting clerk, all the way to the position of assistant to the controller, which would be third in line in that office. And it was a huge accomplishment. And I'm young and I'm dumb and I don't understand that things are right or wrong. And I got upset one day and quit and didn't know what I was going to do. So I made a decision that I would just do what my dad did. I would join the local 903 out of Gulf. That was in Gulfport, Mississippi there. So I was going to join that local and I was going to join the electrical union. And I couldn't start until September. And I didn't want to not do anything. So I answered an ad in Nashville, Tennessee, or in Gallatin, Tennessee. And I came up here and I ran the office for a construction company in 1990. And once I got to Nashville, I just made a decision pretty quick that I wasn't going back home. And I worked for this guy for about a year. And then I went to work for another company that was doing facilities management for restaurants. That was in 1991. And that did not exist. I mean, now every restaurant around is handled by facilities companies. But that didn't exist. And he was building it. And about 6 months into me working for him, he died. Now, my wife and I, we had nothing. So I grew up poor. I was still poor. We were living in a trailer up in Westmoreland, Tennessee, lived there for 2 years with no running water. Half the windows had plywood over them, with plastic over the plywood because their windows were broken. The floors were so rotted out that the dog would just stick his head up to the floor and look at you while I was watching TV. I mean, that's where I was. So after working with this guy and he died, well, nobody understood the concept as to what was going on. And I stayed there 2 more months and I come home from work one day. I hadn't gotten paid. And my wife got her car repossessed. We were already behind on a note before I lost it, before he died. And so she told me, she said, you got to do something different. So I made that decision that I would go ahead and quit. So I went in on Friday that Tuesday. And I told him, I said, look, I'm going to leave on Friday. And on Friday, they just shut the whole company down. And I went home, had no idea what I was going to do. I had a guy from Hardy's restaurant that I had never met. I had done collections with him. We had talked about accounts receivables. We had talked about just business stuff. But face to face, we had never met. And he called me up that Friday night and he said, hey, Winston, I hear you left the office. I said, yeah. He said, what you going to do? I said, I don't know. He said, why don't you start a maintenance company? I said, a maintenance company? I do accounting. I don't really know anything about maintenance. And he said, can you show up? I said, yeah, I can show up. He said, that's all I want to hear. He said, we'll try it and we'll see what happens. So the next day, that Saturday morning, he called me up and he had a bun toaster in Fairview, Tennessee that he sent me on to work on. And I got there. I don't know what a bun toaster looks like in a commercial restaurant. I'm looking at it. I don't know how to turn it on. I don't know how to turn it up. I don't know nothing. So I asked the cook, I said, just show me what you're doing. Let me look at it. And he said, well, I just go here. I turn this on here. And then I do this right here. And he says, it's not working. I said, well, seems pretty simple. So I pulled it apart and I fixed it. And then, it was everything that I stepped on, I could fix. And it was the same process. I don't care if it was an oven. I don't care what it was. Fryer, show me what you're doing. And they would show me what they were doing. And then I would fix the piece of equipment. Now, I'm not lying to nobody because the guy that hired me knew I didn't know anything. So he's the one that got me working. So I'm just floating through as best I can. So I built that company. I started in March of 1992. I built that company to 72 employees, and I sold that company in 2019. Oh, nice. So that's the beginnings in there. Now I learned to read in 1998. So that was when I learned to read. But all the way up into there, I was 24 when I started my company, 1998. That's 6 years later. No, that was 4 years from 92. I still don't know how to read, and I'm running a business. I have no idea. Explain how it works. I don't know how it works. It just what it just did. Understand, work your behind off, and that was what I was willing to do. I was willing to put in the hours. I was willing to put in the time. I didn't care. I didn't. I would go to work on a Monday, and I may not go home till Wednesday. And that was a very routine thing. I could work 3 days straight, never go to sleep, never a problem. Go home, get a 1 day's sleep. Then, the problem with that is you end up changing wives because they don't stick around a whole lot whenever you're never at home. So I was really good at business. I'm not so good at being married, I guess. I'm on my third wife now. So it's just what it is. You can cry about it or we can just accept it. We're all still good friends. There's no problems anywhere. It's all just what it was who I was. So in 2006, I bought a trailer park. And I didn't want to buy a trailer park, but I had an old employee that worked for me, and he went and got his real estate license. He was bound and determined to sell me this trailer park. And about a year after him irritating me enough and telling me how it was going to be some synergy between my company and that trailer park, because all my guys could go work at that trailer park and we could make a ton of money, I bought the trailer park. And the trailer park was a good investment. It was a phenomenal investment. Oh, yeah. I actually just sold that trailer park this year for 11 times what I paid for it. Wow. And it was a good venture. It was a good venture the whole time. So after I bought the trailer park, then I bought a couple of double wide trailers and I was renting those out. And then I bought some other stuff. And I did really good until about 2011, 2012, probably 2011. I bought 3 trailer parks up in Russellville, Kentucky. And I think that might be the meth capital of the world. I'm not real sure. But you could rent these people a trailer and they would do $5,000 worth of damage to that trailer in less than 2 weeks. And then you would just rinse and repeat. So I held that trailer for almost 3 years. And then one Saturday I got a call about something. I just told my wife, I said, that trailer park is going. And I auctioned all 3 of them off 30 days later. I took whatever I could get for them. I didn't want any money on them. And then I took that money, or I lost all of the money that I had put in, about $8,000 a month of expenses, month over month with them. But I got all the money I paid for them back. So I lost a lot of money, but it was some good experience. And then after that, in that December of 2013, I had a guy come sell Aflac insurance to my employees. And while I was here, we were talking, and he said, hey, are you part of Rich Dad Education? And I said, what's Rich Dad Education? He said, well, you read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad? I said, no. He said, I'm going to go buy that book and I'll bring it to you. I said, I don't need you to buy me the book. I'll go get it. He said, no. He said, I really want you to read it. I said, I'll get it. He said, you going to get it today? I said, yeah. I don't know this guy at all. I've never met him. First time meeting. I said, yeah, I'll go get it. He said, I'm going to call you tomorrow. He did. He called me the next day and asked me if I went and got the book. And I did. And I read that book in, like 2 days, I was through with it. And then I went and bought another book and another book and another book and another book. And then, on January the 3rd, when I came back to work in 2014, I was Googling some stuff and trying to find some stuff on Robert Kiyosaki. And I found they were doing a Rich Dad education class in Tampa, Florida. So I told my wife, I said, I'm flying down there. So I got on a plane. I flew down there for the class. And, about 3 hours into it, you realize this is a huge, huge sales presentation. They fixing to rip you for some good money. Yeah. But I was listening to it. I said, I just lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. If I spend $35,000, $40,000 on their program, it's worth the investment if I don't make that same mistake again. Mm-hmm. So I signed up. I signed up for their program, and They let me do 8 classes. It was 35,000, I think, for 8 classes. And I was able to do each one of them 3 times. And I spent the next 2 years, every single month, I would fly wherever they were doing the class, and I would do a 3-day class with them every month for 2 years. And then in 2016, I was inducted to the Rich Dad Hall of Fame. It was Elite Legacy at that time. They had taken over Rich Dad company. They had bought it out or rented it for so long they don't have it anymore. But that was a good thing. And then we got to go to the classes for free after that. Right there, we could attend with that award. We could attend all our classes for free, and we just continued to do it, and got some great education through that right there. And that taught me how to do what I do correctly. I mean, I've never, obviously I'm not a college guy. I really didn't pay attention in high school. I never saw the value in education. And for me, looking at public education today, a lot of it, I don't see the value in a lot of it, but education is king. I mean, whenever you really step into something like this right here, knowing what you do, knowing how to do it, knowing why you do it, knowing how to run the numbers, that is huge. And so many people don't know how to do it. And I listen to podcast after podcast after podcast of people telling people what they can do or what they could do, but they never tell them how to do it. They never tell them, hey, step by step, this is what you can do. So that's why I started my podcast, and that's why we started the YouTube videos and different things like that right there. We're just trying to help people. It's been kind of cool. We've had a lot of people that send me emails, and I'm trying not to answer their emails. I'm trying to email them back and say, hey, just call me. Here's my phone number. Call me and let's talk. And right now, I'm getting about 10 calls a day, and they average about a half hour a call. So I'm spending like 5 hours of my my day on phone calls. I told my wife the other day, I said, I'm probably going to do something different. I don't really know how to do it yet, but we got, this is going to grow into something more because we haven't been doing it that long for it to do what it's done. But that's, a rundown of my story and what we do. So we do single family housing. So we buy single family houses. We might fix them up and rent them out. I'm not a fix or flip guy. I don't sell what I buy. We hold it. We buy everything to hold. We do single family, we do multifamily, we do warehousing, we do commercial, we do Airbnb. So we do a little bit of everything. I do a lot of new construction. So I have all my licenses for construction. So we build our own houses. We just finished a 5 duplexes we did. We bought an apartment complex, stripped it all the way down to the dirt and rehabbed the whole thing, about a $2.9 million rehab on it. And I mean, so we do a lot of that stuff ourselves and we hold it. I do a lot of land development. I'll buy 1 piece of land, 2 pieces of land, 5 pieces of land, and then I work together to put a project in there. It's a bunch of pieces of land. I may try and just make it 1 track and do it for an apartment complex. I did that. I got a 60-unit apartment complex that we have that is ready to pull out of the ground now, that has had the fire marshal sign off on it, and we're ready to roll with that right there. So
nice.
We do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Everything but restaurants, from what I've read and learned about you.
Well, when I sold the company, we were servicing 700 restaurants in Nashville. I had 72 employees, and it's tiresome to have 72 employees. And my generation, when I started, man, we worked, and everybody, it'd be 1 o'clock in the morning, we'd be working, and there might be 4 of us out there working, and they would all call, and they would show up on whatever job site you was on, and they're like, I'm not going home till you go home. And that was the camaraderie we had. Nowadays, they will leave you at the same job site they're on. They will walk off of it, never tell you bye, and just leave you hanging. And that didn't work well with me. It didn't fit with me. I'm more, we take care of each other. We got a team, and we're family. So when I sold that company, they asked me, do you want to stay on? And I said, no. I said, I've been doing real estate. Me and my wife have done real estate together for the last 10 years, and that's all her and I have ever done together. Really, she's never been involved in my business, just the real estate side. So the company ran without me, so there was no reason for me to stay on at all. Yeah. And that's what we did. We sold it and never looked back. No regrets, none.
Yeah. And I mean, with everything you had going on in the real estate side, I'm sure you didn't need the restaurant business in all of the problems that came with it. Obviously, the financials would be nice to have, but like what you're doing, it sounds like investing in real estate is a little bit more hands-off, which allows you to get more into that educational piece, which it sounds like you're kind of focusing on with your social media, at least.
Yes, we are. So hands off. I'm involved in a lot of stuff, but I got people that do it for me. We just have a few minute conversation here, a few minute conversation there. This past year, we bought two neighborhoods. One neighborhood had 41 houses in it. Then we bought a neighborhood with 58 houses in it. The neighborhood with 41 houses in it was built in 2013, so it's fairly new still. The other neighborhood was built in 2006, so there's a lot of deferred maintenance that wasn't done on that neighborhood. So we'll probably put I don't know, $700,000 in that neighborhood, fixing it up and getting it where it needs to be. But, that's just part of it. I won't physically be doing any of that work, and, nor will I be managing it for the most part. So yeah, you're correct on that right there. Somebody else will do it. And, if my wife and I left and didn't come back for a year, the company would still be running just like it was today.
Yeah. And I think it's a really cool position for you to be in, hearing from your backstory and where you came from and where you started to be where you are now. First off, congratulations, because that is not a lot of people get to that place. But what I think you articulated really well was you didn't just jump into real estate and now you're hands off and you're sitting back going on vacations. There was years and years of hard work put into that. And to become a good real estate investor, everybody that I've listened to, because my journey's not done yet. I'm still in the infancy stage. But with the years that you put in, you've now created the system to where you can be, I guess, less boots on the ground and more planning and oversight.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that obviously topples into which I really like. And when Dan mentioned he found you on social media, I went through like your Instagram page and I was scrolling through all of your videos. I felt like I wanted to like on them. I didn't want to like every single video, but you were pulling out, you had one where you were talking about how you bought a subdivision and it was so normal for you. But I'm thinking like, okay, all the people that want to get into real estate, to think of buying a subdivision seems like alien to them. But then the next video, you pulled out the blueprints of how you we're working on basically runoffs and the plane of the subdivision and all the planning that goes into just getting the land ready for people to buy on. And I did have a question on that one. Do you get those lots? You buy all those acres. Do you then parcel them off to other builders, or do you have a builder in site or in-house that you work with?
No, we do everything ourselves.
Okay.
So now I don't have construction crews. I will have one guy that will manage that project for me, and he just runs the project. But we use subcontractors for everything. So anything that I'm doing, you can duplicate that right there. You run the general contractor. I'm a general contractor myself, but you can run that general contractor and get everything you want. I mean, you can do everything. Nobody can't not. They can do it. Anyone can do it.
Yeah. Was there any part in your career where you were boots on the ground, swinging a hammer in that phase of things?
I was boots on the ground swinging a hammer. I think last year would be probably the first year that I wasn't working in the field most of the time.
Okay. And how long was that period from?
That was from 1992. Okay. I mean, when I say I would go to work and I didn't come home for 2-3 days, I didn't come home. I didn't go to sleep. I worked 24 hours a day. I didn't take off not a single day for 9 years. I never took off. I never took a vacation for 9 years. All I did was work. I mean, once I realized, I had one goal when I started my company, I said, man, if I can just bill $100 a day, I'm better than where I am. I mean, that's pretty sad. If I can just do $100, I'm happy. But from March of 1992 to December of 1992, I billed out $382,000. And once I saw, hey, I don't have to be this poor kid over here. I don't have to be that way. All I got to do is be willing to sacrifice enough time to make it happen. And that's not right for everybody. I know a lot of people, they're not giving it up. They're not giving up their weekends for it. They're not giving up their nights. They're not giving up their holidays, and everybody's different. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. What your answer is for you is different than what my answer is for me. What you're willing to do is different than what I'm willing to do. And that's what makes us all so unique. And I'll post some videos and people will really give me some hate on them because they say, I would never do that. I understand. I mean, everybody's not the same. I mean, no, maybe you wouldn't.
Yeah. No, and it's true. I mean, I remember working I was customer service. This was 3 or 4 years removed out of college. I had my son, he was like just born, and I switched to do customer service because I had relatively an 8-hour shift, so 9 to 5, 8 to 4 kind of thing. Um, but I talked to one guy, a cube mate over. He was, I don't know, 10 years older than me, had 3 kids, and I couldn't figure out why he enjoyed being there so much because I'm going stir crazy. I'm in a cubicle staring at a screen with the headset in my ear. I'm stir crazy. I bought a Rubik's Cube just to get my mind off of work while I'm sitting in my cubicle. And I'm asking him, like, so how do you find enjoyment here? And he's like, well, to be honest, it's not so much enjoyment here, it's enjoyment at home. I can come in, I punch out, I leave work at work, I go home. My time is with my family on the weekends, my family at night. We go on vacations. This pays enough to what I want to do. And for me, I'm a young gun. Like, I'm like, no, there's more to life. You can do more. He didn't want it. He wanted the simple work life, the bill, and then go and spend his time at home. I was in the other mindset. I wanted to work as hard as I could now so that later on in life, the company that I built can take over and run it. I'm still
I'm,
in that everyday kind of system, but it's getting better and better. The more time and effort you put into it, just like you're saying, just work hard for those.
you do it now.
Years.
You don't have to do it your whole life. You just got to do it now. I mean, maybe you got to do it for 10 years. I mean, I remember it was 2003. My son was born in 2000, so he was 3 years old. And I was doing an open remodel in a hospital in Tucson, Arizona. So I was there for like 6 months. I hadn't been home. So I come home. My wife had booked a plan to go to Florida. So we went to Cocoa Beach, Florida. I got home. I didn't come into my office. I got on a plane. We flew to Cocoa Beach, Florida. And we unpacked all our stuff. Her and I and my son went out to dinner. And we sit at dinner and my phone rings. And it's one of my employees. And he calls me up and he said, hey, Winston, he said, we got a problem. I said, what's the problem? He starts naming off some problems with some jobs. Well, I haven't been here, but somebody else was running my company the whole time I was going. That never worked for me for that right there. He said, I'm going to tell you right now, man, you can come home right now and fix this problem because you're the only one that can fix it, or you're going to lose your company. And you know what? That was the most awesome thing in the world for him to call and tell me that right there. And his words were great because that got me off my behind. I told my wife, I said, we done it. Take me to the airport. And we went to the airport. I got on the plane and I flew home, and she enjoyed her week's vacation with my son. And that's just what it was. And that's what it had to be to do it. And my employee was right. We were in enough trouble that I didn't know anything about any of it, that it needed immediate attention. Yeah. So it does come with a lot of sacrifice.
It does. And some people have the lifestyle or choose a lifestyle to do that. Some don't want the inconvenience. I know for me, it was a big thing, just accept people want different things. But what I like about you and what I'm trying to do with this podcast as well is those fringe people that do want something else, that do want to invest and put in extra work. It's a daunting task. I know. I'm imagining from when you were younger getting into this, it didn't seem. Did you think you'd be in the position you are now when you started?
No, I
17,
$100 a day. That's what I was looking for. The goal was small. Now I can tell you, I'm a very goal-oriented guy. So my goals started changing, and then I realized that the more I wrote them down, the more I acted on them, and the more I did that. My wife and I set goals every year, and we meet about our goals. And they're all the way out to I'm 70 years old. I got my goals planned, and we meet on a weekly basis. Every Wednesday morning, we meet at 9 o'clock right here in this office right here, and we talk about where we are for what we got to achieve this year to make our goals happen for 2023. And if we're off track, we say, okay, we got to do to get back on track, and that makes us. I mean, we far achieve our goals every single time. Yeah. Now I have a sickness with this stuff because I could really quit and enjoy life and have an amazing life if I chose to, but I don't know anything else. I don't know how to go have fun. I don't know how to fish. I don't know how to hunt. I don't know how to golf. I know how to work. And that is where my enjoyment comes from. And I love building stuff. And I guess I'm 54 years old, and I'm looking at, I don't want to go back to where I was when I was 20. You know, I'm going to go back to that old trailer. Not that it would ever happen, but I'm still pushing, and I keep us broke all the time. I mean, we got $50 million in assets, and we're broke all the time because what I do, I go buy $10 more million worth of assets, and then we gotta put $1 million into fixing it. We gotta do this, and everything we make on cash flow goes into it. And in the minute we start breathing good air again, I do the same thing again. But that's just my nature. It's how I've lived my whole entire life.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't want to say a mental retirement. You're at the point where you could retire if you so choose to, but it doesn't sound like that would be more enjoyable than what you're doing.
No,
Like
no.
you're
And my
living
wife and I
your
work
enjoyment right
together.
now.
Yeah, we work together 24/7. So, and that, my wife's my best friend, and we spend all our time together, and we enjoy it. We're doing the same thing. We push in the same direction. We always move in that way.
Yeah, it does help having a partner in crime doing it and understanding where your goals are, which is awesome that you guys meet once a week to talk about goals. It probably makes the sacrifices a lot easier to digest from both of you. Like both things you guys need to sacrifice. Obviously, you're on the same path with your goal, knowing that the sacrifices need to happen to get there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, her sacrifice right now is way more than mine is. We're switching accounting systems and changing the way we're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, she has been miserable for 12 months dealing with this stuff, trying to make it happen. And it's good. It's all coming to a head now where it's all coming together, but it's been excruciating for her. And I'm just sitting here saying, I'm ready to go home. She's like, I can't go home right now. But we do push in the same direction.
That's cool. That's cool. And I forgot to mention this one. Another congratulations. You were talking about the start of your career, how you'd go in and you'd fix these equipment, whatever equipment it is that went down. All without YouTube University. That's
No,
impressive. That's impressive.
I worked off of a pager. I didn't get my first telephone until 1998. So I worked off of a pager. Somebody would page me. I got to find a gas station, use a payphone to call and find out what service call I got. It was a whole different world. And it was funny because we were still using that pager in like 2015. For all of our service calls was coming in through a pager still. And I remember I went into one of my guys' office and the pager went off and I said, we're still using the pager? He said, yeah. I said, why don't you switch it to a phone? And he did. He switched it to a phone. But it was just funny because you get in the habit of something, you just keep on repeating it.
You're going to make me have to edit this and put disclaimers about what a payphone is and what a pager is. And I think the last time I interacted with a pager was in 8th grade or freshman year of high school, probably around that same time, 1997, 98 time. That's funny.
But mine was just to call my mom because she's a nurse. So if I needed to get a hold of her on the floor, I'd call the pager. But I didn't know what I was calling. She just said, call the number. I'm not going to answer, but I'll call you back. And I'm like, okay, got it. That's all I knew about a pager at that point. I was born in 90, so I'm a little younger than everybody here.
I was doing a video on talking about some of this stuff and talking about answering or looking at the paper before I came to Tennessee. And when I said it, I said the paper was a little white thing that had writing all in it and stuff where we used to get out. It was kind of like Google, but a lot harder.
Right. A lot slower.
Kind of funny. We were in Chicago the other day and walking through the airport and they had a payphone still in the airport. And I was like, wow, still got one.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever leave just for the pinch of people needing it. There'll be one around in every city, just one. Yeah, but it as you were telling me the story about going in and fixing these equipment, nowadays people think like, oh yeah, I've got my phone. I'll go on YouTube, look up the model or look up the manual because every manual for everything is online at this point. You were going into this blind. You didn't have a computer in your pocket where you could look up videos, a little 10-minute video of somebody fixing the equipment and then repeating it.
The guys I had, whenever I sold it, they did a lot of stuff through YouTube. I mean, they would look everything up on YouTube to be able to fix it.
Yeah.
So I got something. We got time for a quick rundown on some property.
Absolutely. So I was going to ask you some numbers on some things, but yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about something. So I am a guy. I like to invest infinite. So I like to try and make any deal I go into have the potential to invest infinite. So investing infinite means in the end, you got no money in the deal whatsoever and you're still making money. So I'm gonna break down one of my land development deals. And that'll give everybody a little rundown on how that works and what makes it interesting.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I bought 2 pieces of land and I gave about $90,000 for both pieces of land. And they had 2 single wide trailers on one piece of land, and then a single wide trailer and a house on the other piece of land. And it was just trash. In the city I invest in right here where I live, we put a lot of money in the city because we got a lot of properties here. So anybody that's got a crappy house, I will buy that house, tear it down, and build a brand new house there, because that increases all my property values.
Yep.
So I bought those houses, and I tore every one of them down. And then I had my engineer come out, and we talked about what we could do with it. And we were going to put townhomes on it, and we was going to put condos on it. But I couldn't get the water. So the water company wouldn't give me the water to support a condo development or a townhome development. So I was a little bit discouraged. So I had him break it down to me in 5 lots. So my engineer rezoned it. I brought it to planning and zoning with an engineer plat that had it broken down into 5 separate lots. And then that probably cost me $10,000 for what he did. So now I got about $100,000 in the land with my engineering fees. And as far as
what's the time passing in this from purchase to getting into the city
planning?
planning?
We're probably a year into it right now, because we did a lot of back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on it. And you know, I don't have a lot of money in tearing the trails down because I use my own equipment. I hauled everything off myself. I mean, I just did it when I going from work. I would stop by and work a couple hours and then go do what I do. But so we got it rezoned for 5 houses. 4 of the houses were 1 acre lots. And then the last lot in the middle kind of went back past the other lots and opened up in the back, and it was 6 acres. Okay. So,
and what was it zoned when you bought it, and what did you zone it to?
It was zoned residential when we bought it, and it just stayed residential.
Okay.
But the lots were rezoned at smaller lots because we had get an engineering company out there for the smaller lots.
Okay.
So when I did it, I said, okay, I'm gonna build some houses on here. So I went in on the 2 outside lots on both sides, and I built a single family house on each one of those lots. So we built all 4 of those houses at one time. And I built them, they were 1,170 square feet. And it cost us about $100,000 to build the house. Maybe a little bit less than 100,000. We'll use 100,000 for these numbers. Cool. So I got 5 lots. I got $100,000 in the lots. So I got $20,000 invested in the lots. Now I got $100,000 invested in the house. So now I got $120,000 invested on a house that rents for $1,500 a month. So the numbers are great.
Yeah.
So I went to the bank and I pulled we got an appraisal. All 4 of those houses appraised for like $205,000. This was maybe 6 years ago. So they all appraised for $200,000. So I pulled all my money out, and then I pulled an extra $200,000 out. So I built the houses. I got paid for building all 4 of the houses. I got $200,000 for that right there. Even though I wasn't even in the city when the houses was built. I was in South Pittsburgh working on an apartment complex. I bought that whole entire year. And so while I was there working on that, somebody else was building the houses. When the houses got done, we rented them. They rented for $1,500 a month, and I cash flowed $500 a month on each house. So I was making $2,000 a month on cash flow. That's not a ton of money. That's $24,000 a year that you're making off of something that you don't have any money invested in. Those houses are now worth about $310,000. So they have appreciated that much in value. I still have no money invested in them, and we still make great money. And, you know, I could pay them off at any time. I mean, but that is kind of how I do a lot of what I do. I go out and I'll take my money and I'll build houses. Now, if I would have done a construction loan on those houses, I'll build those houses with cash. But if I did a construction loan, when I got my certificate of occupancy and they finalized my loan, they would not have refinanced that property for 12 months. Because they say they want that area to stabilize. They want to know that the investment is sound before they go in there and give you more money on it. But because I paid cash for the build, then I was able to do that. So,
okay. And that's kind of like a 203K loan is what you're talking with the construction loan?
I don't know what it would be called because I have never done a construction loan. So
okay.
I would be,
true.
I don't have any idea on it. Everything I've built so far, I have always just paid cash to build it out.
Okay.
So we took that 5th lot in there that we didn't build on, and then in 2020 we went in and got it rezoned for 5 duplexes. So we went back there, we cleared the land off, and we put 5 duplexes. So that's 10 rentals at $1,500 a month. The other houses are now renting at $1,700 or $1,800 now. Those start off at $1,500, now they're $1,700, $1,800. And so there's 5 duplexes or just $1,500 a month, because there's 2-bedroom, 2-bath rather than 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And we built that for a little bit over $1 million. And now we're bringing in $15,000 a month on, they rented right away. So we pulled all our money out of that, and maybe another couple $100,000 out of it to get paid for working. And then we rent it, and we make about $5,000 a month clear profit on that property. And it's just rinse and repeat. We don't try and reinvent the wheel every single time we do something. We try and find out what works for us. I love land development because we can make some really good money on land development. If you got it nowadays, people are paying so much money for a piece of property. And if you're more than 20% of that piece of property, 25% of that piece of property, if you put your underground utilities in and your driveway in, if you're more than 25% of the finished value of the house, then it's hard to make money off of that house. Your numbers just don't work. That's kind of like a magic number right there. You know, a lot of people were invested at the 1% rule. If I paid $200,000 for it, I need $2,000 a month rent. That used to work when we was at 4% interest, 5% interest, but now it's 7-8% interest. That 1% is your break-even mark now.
Yep.
So the whole world is ever moving, and we got some videos out there where how to run numbers. If people would just look at how to run them numbers and understand it, that is the most important part of everything that you do. If your numbers are right, then everything is right. You don't worry. I never go home and worry about something I'm working on, because I've already considered what is my worst case scenario if this does not work out. The worst case scenario is this. If I can accept that worst case scenario, I'm going to aim for the best case scenario, and I'm going to take what I can do. I'm gonna do the best I can do to do the best that I can do. But I know that the worst I can do, I can live with. So we're not going home fighting about it. We're not worried about it. And if it don't work like we wanted it to work, we don't lose any money. We just survive.
Sometimes there are projects, like you said, you take lumps on. It's a loss. We just had one where we bought, and we actually just closed on it last week, but there was a part in there where we had to go back and sit and, hey, are we just going to tear the thing down and sell it, take a loss, and just get out from underneath it? Or are we going to try and see this through? We ended up rebuilding a new house, and we made a profit on it. But the option of getting out and just cutting the losses and moving on, kind of like what you did with the trailer parks down in the meth capital, the USA.
You got to just
cut your losses. And all of the headache you didn't experience continuing with that, and the finances that it freed up. Yes, you lost money, but the money you pulled out allowed you to make money on the other side of it. So
now that loss at that trailer park over there, 3 trailer parks I sold at the loss, that was because I didn't know how to do my due diligence. I didn't know how to break down the deal. I didn't know how to run the numbers. I didn't know how to really get out there and see my risk. Yeah. I mean, the water bills at those parks were $4,000 a month because they were shipping water from Missouri.
Oh, really?
I mean, it was crazy. Yeah, crazy stuff.
And I mean, that might be your one thing. I was going to ask a question. If you could go back in time and talk to a new investor who's getting into that type of thing, what were some things that you missed or you wished you would have followed up on and shed the light on before you'd purchased or knew about before you purchased? Does anything stick out in your mind?
I think up until Rich Dad Education, up until that particular point in time in my life, running the numbers was always a bad thing. I never ran the numbers. I would look at, oh, that'll work. And I know people that do that now. And I thought, stop doing that. It'll work and it will work. But, over the last 10 years, you could throw a dart at a dartboard and it would always make you money.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you can't do that. It's a little bit different field. It's a different playing game. So you can't do that right now. But that is the biggest thing. I mean, right now, if I bought those 3 trailer parks right now, I don't have a doubt in my mind I could make money with them because I know how to choose renters better. I know how to do everything better than I used to know. So that would be the win for me. Learning how to run numbers is being one of the biggest successes that I would attribute everything to. Was just somebody. And I spent 13 weeks with a guy coaching me on how to run numbers every single week. I mean, just, all right, let's do them again. Let's do them again. Let's do them again. And it was redundant, but I tell you what, he drilled it in my head.
Yeah. And I mean, when I started, I listened to Bigger Pockets. I'm sure you've heard the name.
Yep.
That's out there. But I was actually working with Dan at a different company. But as I was traveling and driving, I'd be listening to a podcast. I'd write down notes. I'd go home. And I remember multiple nights falling asleep at my computer because all I would do is go on. I didn't have an MLS at that time. I wasn't an agent. So I'd go on Zillow. And I didn't care the house. I would just pick up a house. I'd analyze like 10 to 15 a night just so that I could do it.
Yep.
And I mean,
Yep.
I've done that. I did that for, I would say, a year before I actually jumped into becoming an agent. And even from that period when I did it to now, I'm sure I've lost some things because I haven't done it in between. I've been so focused on working in the business than on it.
Yep. Yep. We have people fly in here. I had a guy drive up from Georgia last week and spent the day with me and going over some properties, showing him what I do. And we do that a lot. I offer that up to a lot of different people. And I had a guy supposed to be flying in tonight, but his wife, something happened with his wife. He said, I can't come. I'm gonna come next month. So he'll come then. But we bring people in and we just show them how to run the numbers. And we will do that. We'll go to Zillow and we'll find something that's for sale right now, and let's run the numbers. Let's see what this does. Let's see how it runs. And we run it all the way around and dissect it down and teach them and teach them and teach them and then send them on their way. And they come back and they do the same thing.
I'm going down to Nashville in March, so I'm gonna have to come see you. We'll analyze some properties. You
are more than happy to come up, and I'll show you everything we got here, what we do, talk about it, have a good time. It'd be great.
That would be awesome.
Yep.
Oh, I did have another question. When you were, where was it? Dan, you have to edit this part out.
Can't do it. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
Okay, so my question was in regards to, I think, one of the videos that you had, running the numbers, but not on a specific business opportunity, but actually the numbers within your business, how you broke down the cost for like payroll and expenses. Like that was awesome. Like I'm watching this video and you're saying, like, I think, obviously interject if I'm wrong, but you broke it down how you would prefer somebody work overtime, obviously paying them more per hour after the fact because their cost to.
I would view, all right, I'm gonna pay you a three weeks vacation regardless. I'm gonna pay you.
Yep.
I'm gonna pay you 7 paid holidays regardless. I'm gonna give you time off for this right here regardless. Those were control costs. We know we're going to have to add that to their total payroll every single year. So, and that's based off of a 40-hour work week. So if they work 60 hours a week, you still get to use those numbers, but you can distribute them over 60 hours.
Yeah.
And I would combine all that down, and then I would divide it throughout the year and then the hours in the year. And I always came out where for a guy to work overtime was cheaper for me to work him overtime than to hire a second person and put him in there and give him a benefit package and give him a vehicle, because I got, every employee had a van. So you got a van and they got insurance and you got all this stuff you got to pay for them. And, we paid for them to go to work and we paid for them to go home. So we had that travel time to both ways that we had to pay for. And whenever I much rather have somebody work there. And I do my real estate the same way. So on the real estate side, like year before last, we were averaging about $1,000 an hour on appreciation. So our property was appreciating at $1,000 an hour, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
When you know your numbers.
Yeah. I mean but that's the secret sauce. The secret sauce is being able to understand, hey, I got appreciation, which is a huge number. And I don't think we're going to see 5%, not where I live, I don't think we're going to see 5% at all. And the more money that the government prints, the more that appreciation is going up, because as the dollar value goes down, the appreciation goes up on your property. I don't think we're going to go under 10%. Now, maybe we do, maybe we don't. But I can tell you over the last 50 years, the average was 5%. So I feel pretty comfortable to use 5%. I know whenever we were running 20%, I was over $1,000 an hour on appreciation. I know if I run it at 10%, I'm about $580 an hour right now on what I'm making. And so, you're making $20,000 a week, $10,000 a week off of just a day off of appreciation. And then, 3.6% on depreciation. So all the money you make at your day job, if you have a day job, you can write all that crap off. Just get some rental properties. You can't write it off on a personal residence, but on rental properties, as far as residential, it comes out to about 3.6% a year. And you got your cash flow, you got your appreciation, you got your depreciation. And then if you got a note on it, now you pay the note. You don't pay the note, your tenant pays the note. So that tenant pays that note over and over and over. At the end of the year, you paid your loan down $6,000. Well, that's $6,000 you don't know today that you owed yesterday, or you don't know this year that you owed last year. That $6,000 is yours. You can do a cash out refi and get it. You sell that house, you're going to get it. The tenant paid that money. That's just additional rent that you don't recognize any kind of income on for tax or anything. You do a home, you do a cash out refi, you can use that money again and again and again and again, and the government don't tax you. It's just free money.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's awesome that you can get that drilled down with your numbers.
But understanding when you got 6 employees sitting around talking and they're costing you like 35 cents a minute, 50 cents a minute, 80 cents a minute, whatever it was. And you look at it and say, hey man, y'all costed me like $8 a minute for y'all to sit there and talk. Go do something. and it was so bad that my employees would walk up to me and I would be talking to several guys. And my employees go, how much is this conversation costing the company, Winston? And they would hit me with the same thing. And that's the cool thing, because we all had that same relationship. We all gave each other as hard a time as we possibly could. Today you got to handle it with a little more kid gloves, I suppose.
Yeah,
if you got
not at my office, but at other offices.
Yeah. It's depending on the guys you have around you. I mean, we don't handle things with soft gloves around the job site.
Yeah, I got to work with people that can handle that. Yeah. Because I like to have a good time at work. I don't want to go to work and be mad and upset and sad. I want to go to work and hassle everybody, have everybody hassle me, and just have a good time at work. It's fun. Yeah. It's not bad.
Yeah. And it makes life way easier.
Oh yeah.
And you like work. It just feels like you're hanging with your buddies.
Absolutely. So you had a question.
Yeah, it was along the same lines of analyzing properties. You said that you got notes on those duplexes. Well, I think they were single family homes at the time. It was the lot that you tore down the double wides and put up the rentals.
Yeah, we put 4 separate loans on that. We didn't do one loan across all of them. We did 4 separate loans.
Yeah, and you had mentioned I could pay off the notes, but I don't. When you analyzed your property, what was your decision making into paying off the notes early or letting those ride out?
Well, I don't want to pay off the notes early because I'm using the cash flow I'm getting to buy more properties, and we're just continuing to buy properties. So if I took all the money and I paid off those properties, now I don't have that much money to invest. So now I got 4 assets right here that I'm getting, let's say 10% appreciation on. I could take that equity from those 4 properties and buy 8 more properties at 20% down. And now I got 12 properties that I'm getting 10% appreciation on. So I'm looking at the numbers way further than the cash flow, saying, okay, I make more money on my appreciation than I make on cash flow. So I like to just continue to move the needle as far as that goes and getting more assets.
Yeah. And that's very offensive mindset. The defensive is, all right, I'm going to pay down my debt so that the house is paid off and I live on the cash flow. The offensive is, yeah, I live in debt. That's fine. I'm going to keep using the money to get more properties and get more cash flow in, or in your case, more appreciation.
Well, it doesn't matter if you got a note on, you still get depreciation off of it also. The 2 neighborhoods we bought last year, I'm going to get about $400,000 a year that I can make in clear profit and not have to pay taxes on just from the depreciation of those 2 neighborhoods. So you start looking at it from that avenue and you say, man, I need to buy something that's worth some money because I don't want to pay any taxes. And we don't pay any taxes. I haven't paid taxes in, I don't know how, 10 years. We don't pay any taxes. And we don't do that because we invest in a way that we don't pay taxes. And we pay attention to the fact that giving the government our money that we make is not beneficial to us.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I've been on the train of, I've hated the concept of a tax return as like the next check. I cannot stand it. Ever since college, people would get excited about the refund check. And I was like, you just lost how much interest that you could have done something with that money. And instead the government gives it back and just says, thanks. Like that annoys me.
I mean, their mindset probably wouldn't be to spend it or to invest it anyways, right? If they had that money in their pocket.
Oh, right.
They're gonna buy a new TV or furniture or I don't know, whatever they're gonna be spending their money on. But they don't have that mindset to look at it, obviously, like you do. I would rather have more money per check, like you said, rather than at the end of the year.
And I'm not a guy, I mean, I'm good friends with Jason Hartman and Ken McElroy and that group of guys over there. Yeah. And we're in a mastermind together. So it's George Gammon, Ken McElroy, Jason Hartman. Robert Kiyosaki shows up to all the events. He's just tagging along with Ken. And, you know, it's a good event. It's a good event to go to and watch these guys. And And they always give me a hard time because, I was doing a podcast with Jason Harmon. He said, "What you got in your garage?" I said, "I got nothing in my garage." He said, "Nah." He said, "What kind of car you got in your garage?" I said, "I drive a service van." I said, "I drive a cargo van everywhere I go." He said, "You don't have a different vehicle?" I said, "I don't have another vehicle." I said, "My wife's got a truck." I said, "But heaven." He said, "You don't have a Ferrari?" I said, "A Ferrari doesn't interest me." I said, "That doesn't, what am I going to do with it? You couldn't even drive it down my driveway." I live about a mile off the road almost. I said, I'm not that guy. I said, I want to appreciate, I'm not going to buy a car if I could buy 2 houses with that car. I said, I'm not going to do that. And, that's not a right or a wrong answer either. It's what's right for somebody else. I mean, I got friends that have went out and sold some property. First thing to do is go buy some Corvette, some fancy car. And, but you're trying to impress people that you don't even really like. You're 45 years old, you're 50 years old, you need a fast car? Not really. I mean, my speed limit where I live is 40 miles an hour everywhere. So, I mean, go faster than that, you're getting a ticket.
Yeah.
And I'm not responsible. So I'm not responsible to have a really fast vehicle. I would be getting a lot of tickets. But
then it's a safety feature. That's a good safety decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I bought a crotch rocket motorcycle one time from a police auction. I rebuilt it, put it together. And I drove it about 10 times. And I came home and I told my wife, I said, "You sell that motorcycle?" I said, "I'm going to kill myself on the motorcycle." Because I don't care where I went. Oh, my word. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. I was on a crotch rocket twice. And every time I got off, my eyes were tearing because you're just in a tunnel. And it was like so much fun. Your body's just like shaking. But then you look down at the speedometer and you're going 80 and you're like, that's like 15 feet, I feel like.
Yeah.
But they take off. They're quick.
Yep. And I know I'm not responsible and know your limits. I mean, I know I'm not responsible enough to drive it like that. I'm driving at 120, 130 miles an hour. I'm like, I'm going to kill myself. Now what happens to my family? What happens to my kids?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. On that depreciation, obviously you're looking into it. It's in the back of your mind and your numbers. Have you gotten to a position where you're 27 years in, you've got 6 months until, it's 27 and a half is the cutoff, correct? For depreciation of property?
Yes, correct.
So
residential.
Have you gone through that life cycle where now you look at, okay, it's a cash flowing property. We've worn out the depreciation. Do I sell it? Like, have you gotten to that threshold now?
So let me tell you where I am on that. I have done that on a few houses. I haven't done on as many houses as I should do it on because I don't pay taxes. If I was paying taxes, I would probably look at it a little bit different. But I got some houses that I bought for $50,000 that are worth close to $400,000 right now. And those houses, I'm only getting depreciation off of the $50,000 I paid for that house. Yep. I'm not getting depreciation on $400,000. It would be very advantageous for me to take that property and sell it and go buy a $400,000 piece of property and be able to get the 3.6% off of the $400,000 rather than off of $50,000. So that is something we pay attention to it. And I bought an apartment complex in an opportunity zone. So when I sold my business, I bought an apartment complex in an opportunity zone, and I did that so I didn't have to pay taxes. So they let me not pay taxes for 7 years, and then at the end of the 7 years, I get like 15% discount on what I got to pay. And if I hold it for 10 years, I can sell it and not pay any capital gains tax on it. So we'll hold it. So as I'm getting closer and closer to that 7-year mark, I'm working with my accountant. I'm saying, hey, do I have enough depreciation to take care of that? So if we get to year number 6 and I don't have enough depreciation to do that, I will go buy something big enough and depreciate it off and utilize something like that right there to make certain that it saves me $300,000-$400,000 in taxes. So it is something you got to pay attention to. You can't lose sight of it because as land, over the last several years is going up at 20% a year, man, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. If I was working for Wall Street, making $1 million a year or $5 million a year, I would be trading that depreciation every time I turn around and things like and do that. It's kind of like when you do a syndication. I'm not a syndication guy, but I got a lot of friends that are. You'll have people that are investing in a syndication job and they will trade people the cash flow for depreciation. They want their depreciation more than they want the cash flow. And some people don't need the depreciation. So they're just trying to get more and more where they don't pay as much in taxes.
Yeah. And it's usually the more seasoned investors are looking for that depreciation rather than the cash flow. Because they have enough funds to weather the storm of not needing the cash flow, I guess you'll say. They're more stable, and that's not their main concern.
And I don't sell a lot of properties. We sell very few properties.
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
I just built 2 houses, and I traded the land from the city. The city had a piece of land. I had a piece of land the city wanted, and I told them I would trade them the land for the 2 lots. And they give me the lots, but they're in a nicer neighborhood where the houses need to be about $500,000. And I don't want to rent a $500,000 house. I can't make my return I'm looking for. So I built those 2 houses to sell, but that is a rare thing that we do, to build them to sell. I like to stick with somewhere around a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. They rent great, and you build a bigger house, and there's the people that can afford a $500,000 house is like this small compared to the people that can afford something that's 1,200 square foot. The average renter, even if they can't afford it right now, the rent's going up, and it's still what it is. And so they got to figure that out. Yeah. But the bigger houses are much harder to keep rented in poor economies.
Yeah. And there was, I remember early on, they talked about the classes of property, A, B, C, D, and obviously the size. All of it matters in terms of what you're going for. So when you buy a property, knowing, is this going to be an A class property where you can charge higher rents? Is it going to be a B where the rents are a little bit lower? And I cannot remember who said it, but they said in a depression, everybody goes down a class. So A classes are down to Bs, Bs go down to Cs. And for some reason in my mind, I was like, all right, I don't want A's. Yes, the cash flow and all that's great. But if times get tough, I don't want everybody vacating.
First one to be vacant.
So I'm living in the B's and C's. Those are great. It's just like school, B's and C's.
I mean, you can build in a B class neighborhood and build an A class house and still do great with that. I mean, and everything, we look at everything as numbers. So the houses we build, most of the houses, 1,200 square foot house that I'm telling you I build, we don't put flooring in any of them. I never put flooring in. I only put concrete floors, and I stain the concrete floors, and the concrete floors look great. And I never have anybody complain about the concrete floors, but they're easy to clean. If people have a pet, I don't have to worry about their pet peeing on my floor and destroying my floor, and I got to deal with that right there. And we do that. It saves me $5 a square foot when I'm building. So you don't have to pay for the flooring for that 1,000 square foot. And so it's little bitty things like that right there that you save the money on, and it doesn't make it a bad rental. It doesn't make it a bad rental at all. I would say that most of my tenants, after living in a house with just a concrete floors, and they're stained and they got a gloss finish. It looks like when you go to a shopping mall and they got the stained concrete. I mean, it's a beautiful floor. But that floor, if they tear that floor up, I can buff that floor out with a buffer. I can put a seal coat on top of it. It costs me about $300 and it's done, the whole entire house.
Yep.
So it's easy. It makes sense. It makes sense to me.
That's
what I'm looking for.
That's the luxury of not having basements, right? I mean, that's different from up here. We have basements in almost all the houses, so I don't think
I was just saying, I went to a RIA, like a real estate meetup group in Milwaukee, and this investor only did rental properties in Milwaukee. And he said every single floor in all of his units are epoxy flooring. So he puts that colored, it's not the speckle, but he does like
you can do swirls and stuff like that.
Yeah, the marble looking swirl. And he tiles halfway up the wall. Every single property. And I was like, in the bedrooms? He said, in the bedrooms. Because the tile is a costly added, but it rarely ever gets damaged. He wipes everything down. He can clean the unit, and it's ready to go for the next one. But yeah, epoxy flooring because it's very hard to damage, and tile because it's very hard to damage.
Yep. And that's
where it goes.
You buy it with a plan in mind. We just bought a house, and I way overpaid for this house, but it's next to where I live, and it was on 12 acres. I wanted the land. So I bought the house, and I told my wife, we were talking about maybe just separating the house off and selling the house separate and keeping the land. And I looked at it, and the view is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful view. And I said, why don't we Airbnb the house? so we decided we would Airbnb it. Well, we figured we can make $5,000 to $7,000 a month Airbnb in the house, and that'll pay its way. So then we'll just pay its way on that right there, and then we'll make a decision on what we want to do with the rest of it in a couple of years. All I needed right now to do is pay its way. Once it's paying its way, and we sit back and look at how things are progressing and what we're doing, we had talked about maybe making it a wedding venue because of how the land lays and the view from the land. And if we did that right there, then I would come out and I would build some type of cabin around it, maybe 25 cabins, and we rent it out as a wedding venue, and the people can rent the cabins at the same time. And as they rent the cabins, then they nobody's drinking and driving. Everybody's a lot safer. It would make it a much better property. And then if there's not a wedding there, you just Airbnb it, because it's only 15 miles from Nashville.
Yeah.
So it's easy enough to do.
Yeah. Is that a plan that you guys are looking at?
We already did it. I mean,
oh, okay. Cool.
We did it. She's going live on the Airbnb, I think, in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Awesome. Maybe that's where we'll stay.
Yeah. You're welcome. Just call me and let me know you're coming.
That'd be cool.
But no, y'all come up. I definitely want you to come. Just come spend 3 hours with me.
Yeah, we're coming down for sure.
Okay.
I didn't know that's where you were going to be at. I'm going to stop by.
Yeah.
I definitely will. Before I let you go, I did have one other question on financing. So you had mentioned earlier in the show that you buy all your properties in cash. And what was the reason that you bought them in cash? That's escaping me.
I don't like banks. I would rather buy it in cash. And if it's something I need to do a rehab to, then I want to be able to do the rehab and then pull equity out. And I can pull equity out with the rehab in it. The new construction, you want to do it, or I do it because I don't want to be tied to the construction loan for a year. I want to be able to, if I want to pull equity out, I can. Now we're only leveraged. We're leveraged around 22% on our portfolio right now. So we're not leveraged a lot. And, I'm not against debt. I like good debt, but so far I really haven't had to branch out as much as I do. And in the same sense, I float everything that I'm doing right now. We got houses under construction right now, and we got land we're buying right now. We got land we just bought, and every bit of that flows through cash flow. So we make it all work on cash flow. So I keep that cash flow where it's moving enough money that if I need to come up with a couple $100,000 in a couple of months, I can make it happen just through my cash flow.
Yeah. That was a Robert Kiyosaki drop right there, the good debt. That's the first time I've ever heard someone say good debt was Robert.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a big difference between having a house debt and car debt,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, who's the financial guru that 90% of people listen to? Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah. He's always about getting rid of debt. And I look at people like, I can't, it's impossible.
They could put a little bit of debt on 3 different houses and make 4 times their money, 5 times their money. Yeah.
I differentiate between bad debt and good debt. You can't just debt as an umbrella. But going back to my question, so when you started out, we have to go back to your early days. Were you still buying houses in cash and doing that same system, or were you leaning on some sort of leverage there early on?
I bought some houses early on. I paid cash, and then I pulled some equity out of them afterwards. And at that time, I was pulling the equity out on a 10-year note, and so I had a little bit of Dave Ramsey mentality. I got to pay these houses off as fast as I can pay these houses off. I do it in 10 years. They don't cash flow whatsoever. You're taking money out of your pocket every month to pay the note, money out your pocket every month. And, in the end, I didn't understand that I needed that cash flow to invest in else. I had a successful business. So if I needed more money, I just had the company pay me more money, and that just made it work. But when I sold my company, then I had to realize, man, I was getting about $50,000 a month from that company to help me make ends meet. And I needed to fix that problem right away because we had a brain hemorrhage in our finances that we needed to fix because we had not so much debt, but all of our debt was on 10-year notes. So then we had to look at that right there and start making some changes on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that jumping into real estate, it's obviously risky, but I've talked to some investors, getting financing right away is tough. Like you have to convince a lending institution to trust you enough to lend you money on your properties. So you buy a property all in cash. and this was our first couple, maybe 2 years of working. I was trying to get financing, and the bank says, no, we need more history. Even though every dollar amount and breakdown of the finances I gave them proved it was worth what it is, they were still hesitant. Were you getting any of that, or is that like a recent?
I have never dealt with that. Now I can tell you right now, I don't do any of that on our side now. My wife does all of that right there. But I know now she's working with lenders now that they don't even need my personal information. They only want to work off of, I want to know what the house is bringing in. And they will loan strictly off of it's almost like a commercial loan. It is a commercial loan.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the way they would analyze a apartment complex on a cap rate. You know, if it's making a certain cap rate, then they'll loan you the money on it.
Yeah.
But I never really had any trouble with the bank, and I don't really know why. So we bought this first neighborhood last year, and then I went back to buy the second neighborhood, and I went to my bank on that second neighborhood because obviously I didn't have money to pay for it. But so I had my down payment, and he calls me about 2 months before we were supposed to close, a month and a half before we were supposed to close. He said, I got to have audited financials from you. I said, what? And I've never been asked for that before.
Yeah.
And he said, Winston, he said, nothing ever balances. He said, your balance sheet doesn't balance your income statement. It doesn't balance your profit and loss statement. He said, nothing works together. And I said, well, I don't understand that. So I went and talked to my wife. She said, we've been having that problem for years. She said, I don't know how to fix it. Our accountant don't know how to fix it. So our accountant does our books, and she don't know how to make our computer program match it. And so we did the audited financial, but we went to a rent manager class like 2 weeks later. And Rent Manager University, we went to one of their things that they do. That's the software we use to manage our rentals. We do all our own, we do in-house property management on everything. So we went to one of their things, and there was somebody there that was a third-party accounting company that worked with Rent Manager. And their sales pitch was, you give us your stuff, and we will make everything gel together, and we will make certain that everything is seamless, and when you hand it to a bank, it's perfect. So we've been working with them since November. And the girl called my wife a couple of weeks ago, and she said, everything is good. Everything is done. She said, she said, I wouldn't have given y'all a nickel with your previous financials, nothing. She said, I don't know how people were loaning you money. She said, but the people that were loaning you money to buy houses at that time will probably loan you money to buy Nashville now. And it was, it was that bad. But, somebody, I don't know, I stay in my lane most of the time. I'm on this right here. I hand it off to somebody else, and I'll yell at my wife, or I'll yell at somebody else. Y'all get to just fix it. I don't care what you do, just fix it.
Yeah,
and they do it.
Yeah, and those cash flow loans up here, I've got them through just normal mortgage brokers. Usually the banks and the credit unions don't do those. They stick to their box lending. But the cash flow loans, obviously easier to get financing, but the interest rates tend to be a little bit higher on those type of packages.
So are you getting locked? Are you doing variable rate, or are you going into it and having your rate locked in?
Those are fixed.
30-year fixed?
Yeah, but they don't. I mean, the one that I've done on that cash flow, they didn't lock you in. I had it for, I don't know, 8 months, and then went into a traditional.
So we gotta. I can get you. I can get you to send me your information. I can have my wife reach out to you. Excuse me. We just got a quote of 5.5% on a 30-year loan on a $4.5 million loan.
That's awesome.
And that was recent. That was last week.
That's awesome. That's
from a guy out in
single
Florida.
family home. Yeah, buyers are getting.
And that's a Fannie Mae. It's Fannie Mae.
Okay.
Freddie Mac loan.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
So if you want some information, she'd be more than happy to give it to you.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'm always looking for more information. Numbers are important, and that's what we're trying to get drilled down. The building side, we got it. Now I have to get back into the books and know my numbers like you know your numbers. So next time we talk, I'll know how much Dan cost me per minute.
That's what you got to figure out. This 5-minute conversation just cost me $30.
You can't put a price on my value, though.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. The cheapest guy in the room is not always the best guy in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
No, that's true. Well, man, I know we've kept you for over an hour. We try to keep them to an hour. I'm sure we could keep going for a couple more if we wanted to, but we're going to try to end it there.
Okay.
I'd like to see if we can get you back on before I get down there in March. I'm definitely going to come see you though. That would be an awesome, and I appreciate the invite.
No, I'm looking forward to it, and I don't mind. I mean, this is what we do. I mean, this is what we do. So if y'all want to come down, hang out, come down, hang out.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. Yeah,
I like your mindset because I'm looking for the significant other. Like you got your wife helping you on your side. Dating gets hard because I'm married to work, and that's what I always tell them. Like, I'm married to work. I have my son. You're probably coming third, which is a huge red flag for women.
And all you can be is straight up about that right there. And I've told, even my wife now, she's my third wife, but even her, whenever we got married, I said, look, I said, if you're expecting me to put you before my job, it's not going to happen. You got to understand that right now. It's not going to happen. I'll be there. If you're sick, I'll be there. I'll lose everything I got at the hospital sitting there waiting for you to get better. I'll do that right there. But if you expect me to come home at 4 o'clock because you got dinner made, that's not going to happen. So marrying the right person it's hard, but I think it's well worth the wait if you got to wait for that person.
Yeah.
Somebody you gel with.
Absolutely. Keep waiting.
Cool. They got some hate videos out there. I got one trailer. I got one hate video, and I get oh my word, I haven't deleted any comments on anything, but oh my goodness, they just hate me. I bought an old trailer. This lady had a trailer. I don't know if you saw the video or not, but she had a trailer she wanted for $7,000. She wanted to sell it. And I went and looked at the trailer, and I looked at it, and I said, okay, it's worth $7,000. It needs a little bit of work. It needs an air conditioner. It needs this, it needs that. And she said, well, it has to be moved. You can't leave it here at the trailer park. I said, oh. So I went and talked to the owner of the trailer park, and I said, I need to talk to you about that trailer. He said, what about it? I said, I want to buy it, and I want to see about leaving it there. He said, no. He said, the trailer goes. I said, well, what can we work out that would help me be able to leave it there? He said, nothing. He said, that trailer has been in trouble since day one. I said, well, the trailer ain't trouble. It's the person that's in the trailer that's in trouble. And he said, look, boy. And he's an old guy. He said, look, boy. He said, the trailer goes. I said, all right. So I went back and I talked to him. I said, look, I said, I can't give you $7,000 for the trailer. I said, it's worth it. But I can't give it to you because I got to move it. And that's going to cost me $5,500. And by the time I spend $5,500 to move it and to do the repair work, it doesn't make any sense to me. I said, I'll give you $1,200 for the trailer. And she said, no. She said, I'm not selling a trailer for $1,200. And I don't know. That's fine. But that's all I'm going to give you. And then 2 days later, she called me up and she said, I'll take the $1,200. So I give her the $1,200. She gives me the title. Went and talked to the guy at the house, and he still wouldn't talk to me. He said, the girl still lives there. I ain't talking to you until she don't. So I had my guys grab one of my box trucks, go move her. So they moved her. And then I went back and talked to him. And he said, you're not going to rent that trailer there. I said, I don't want to rent the trailer. I want to sell the trailer on her terms. I want to fix the trailer up. I want to sell it on her terms. And somebody's going to live in it for 6 months or 6 years or 5 years. And I want to get paid for that right there. And then I'm going to give him the title or her the title, and it's going to be okay. And he agreed to it. I told him, I said, I will let you interview him. And if you don't like the person I'm looking at, then we don't use that person. So then I came to work, and I had a guy at work that was looking for a place to live. I said, look, I got this place. I said, it needs a little bit of work. I said, I haven't done any work to it. I said, if you want it, I'll rent it to you for $900 a month. I said, you can rent it for 60 months. And at the end of the 60 months, I'll give you the title.
Damn.
He said, I would own it. I said, yeah. He said, I will. He said, and I told him, I said, I didn't pay hardly anything for the trailer. I said, you need to know that. And he said, I'm never going to own anything. So if you're going to give me this trailer after 60 months, I'm just paying you $900 a month. He said, I'll do that. So I sent him over to meet the old guy. The old guy agreed to it. And he lived there for about 2 years. And then his son caught the trailer on fire. So it needed about $4,000 worth of work, and he didn't have the $4,000. So I said, look, I said, I'll do the work for the trailer. I'll get it back where it needs to be, but you're going to need to pay me that $900 a month for another year. And he said, okay. So we did the work. We tacked on another year. So he paid me that for 6 years instead of 5 years. And then I signed the back of that title, handed him the title, and the trailer's his. But I got so much hate on that little video because they said, you just ripped the lady off. I didn't rip the lady off. The trailer was, if I had to move that trailer, and I didn't know whether the guy told me I was going to, I'm lucky enough he didn't make me move it. But had he made me move it, then I would have had to find a place to move it to. I would have had to hire somebody to move it over there. I would have set it up. I would have had to redo the underpin. I would have everything. Yeah. And so that's not that I ripped anybody off. It's just that's how the cards played. And I am a real estate investor. I mean, that's what I do. I invest in real estate to make money. I don't invest in it to break even. You know, if I want to do philanthropy, I did not do that on a different area, not in my real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the tough part about real estate. You're dealing with people, but it's a business.
Yeah.
And that's something that because we do our own management as well. And when I put tenants in, like, hey, you guys are great. I'm going to be friendly. I would hope you guys are friendly. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that this is a business, and nothing I'm saying or doing is anything against you as people. It is just things that have to go on as business.
No, we're getting absolutely trashed right now on social media on one of our other sites, where one of these two neighborhoods we just bought. So both of the neighborhoods, the guy was $500 plus under rent, market rent. And none of his numbers worked. None of his numbers worked. So when the second neighbor, nobody from the first neighborhood really complained too much. The second neighborhood, we told everybody when we bought it, we said, we're going up on your rents, $500. We're going to give you 6 months before we do it. You got enough time to find another place if you need to find another place, but we can't cash flow this. He was only charging like $700 a month. Some of his properties is at $400 a month.
Wow.
So we went up to $1,200 a month on everything, which market value in that neighborhood is $1,500 a month. So I still didn't go up to market value. I just went up. I'm going up to $1,200 because that'll put me in a place that I can cash flow. That'll put me in a place that I can do some deferred maintenance. I ain't going to I guarantee you I won't take a penny home on this neighborhood for the next 3 years. Everything's going to go into it. And oh my word, you talk about trashes on that right there. Just greedy investment people, rich taking advantage of the poor. And, you know, I'm getting my attorneys involved. I mean, you can get your attorneys involved, but we can't make money. We can't take care of the property if we don't go up on your rent. We can't.
Yeah.
And it's hard. They don't understand. And I feel, I don't not have any feelings about it. I feel bad about it, but I don't know there's nothing I can do about it. You know, if I don't do it, then I'm in the same place the guy that I bought it from. You know, he's broke and getting worse and worse and worse and worse every single year.
Yeah.
You know,
and there's going to be pain in a turnover of management.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're coming in, the new property manager, this is how things are going. And unfortunately, you're going to lose some tenants. It happens all the time. But if
they're paying $700 a month and you're raising it to $1,200 a month, if you lose 1/3 of your tenants, you're still making more money than you was making with them there.
Yep.
And I don't think I'm going to lose 1/3 of the tenants because there isn't anything else. I mean, everything in the area is renting for that or more. So it's not like they're going to go somewhere else. It's going to rent cheaper. That's what it is.
I mean, and the other way to spin it too is you've been fortunate enough to have it this low while the market was where it's at. And I'm not defending it either way, just objective devil's advocate here, right? How long have they been there at the rent at $400 or $700, right? And you could have been asking, or whoever previously owner could have been asking for that $1,200 or $1,500 amount. So they've been getting by with that for a year or two, whatever the terms were. But now that you have to adjust it to make it, I guess, market value, it's hard to accept, right? But that's part of owning or not being able to acquire a property on your own, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it you know, it really, I got to be able to fix it. Every house in the neighborhood needs a new air conditioner. Every house in the neighborhood needs a new roof. I mean, just the two things right there is over $1 million. You know, you go in there and do that right there. So you got all these repairs that you got to do, and you know, there's a lot of interior stuff needs to be done. It just needs to be fixed up.
Yeah.
And you feel
hopefully
bad,
they can see the benefit of hey, you're going to pay extra money for rent, but you are going to see more benefits. You're going to get your stuff working.
So the first neighborhood we bought, we actually have people that are wanting to move into the houses. There was 4 houses we needed rehab before we started, or when we bought it. So we rehabbed those houses, and we have people that want to move from their houses and pay more rent to live in the other houses that have been fixed up instead of staying where they are.
I was just going to ask.
They do see the value. They do see the value in it.
Yeah. So this neighborhood, you said it was what, 40 How many
One of
properties?
them is 41 houses and one of them is 57.
And are they all single family homes?
3-bedroom, 2-bath, single family with a 1-car garage.
So how does one get to the point where they can go and look at an area of the city or a county or whatever, is like, I want to buy that whole neighborhood? Like, I don't. I'm fresh to the.
So remember the apartment complex I told you I bought and rehab?
Yeah.
So when I bought that apartment complex, it was the absolute worst area in the whole entire city of South Pittsburgh.
Okay.
I mean, the police department, whenever I rehabbed the thing, they was able to reduce their police department by 2 cops that they didn't need anymore because they didn't have the crime that they had. Those apartments were renting for $305 to $335 a month. That's what they were renting. This is in 2019. When we bought it, I filed eviction on everybody in the apartment complex on day 1. Every single tenant. The thing was it was a crap hole. It was dangerous. It was raw sewage underneath every single building. I mean, I can't do what I need to do with them living there. There's no way. And it took us, I think we gave everybody 90 days to move out. And as we did that, my wife and I was at that apartment complex every day. And I told her, I said, if there was drug dealers, there was 4 different drug dealers in there. And I told her, I said, if we don't get shot, we're going to be real lucky. And we went through that. And then, after they moved out, we went in and rehabbed it. And we brought the rents up to now they're $885 and $975. So that's where I was able to bring the rents up to. And that gave us the money to do the rehab. And the people that live there love it. So my wife was over there not long ago, and she went into one of the stores, and one of the guys that we evicted, he was mad. He was ugly to her. He was mad. And he walked up to her and he said, "You're Christina, right?" And she said, "Yeah." He said, "You threw me out of my home over there in off of Hamilton." And she said, "Yeah." She said, "I know who you are. I remember you." He said, "I want to thank you." He said, "I didn't understand what type of a shithole I was living in." He said, "I didn't understand how bad it was. I didn't understand how much better I could do than what I was." And there's so many people that y'all threw out of there that have that same exact mindset now, that they realize that neighborhood they were living in, that apartment complex that was in such bad shape, really was destroying everything about them. And some of those people moved to this neighborhood I bought. That's the neighborhood right behind it. And so one guy owned that whole neighborhood, and I went and visited with him and told him I wanted to buy that neighborhood from him. And he just said he didn't want to sell the neighborhood. And then when he got ready to sell it, he reached out to me and told me he wanted to sell it. So I told him I would buy it. And then he had another neighborhood he wanted to sell. And that was the second neighborhood I bought. And now he's got a third one that he wants to sell, and I'm going to buy it also.
Interesting.
So that's how the neighborhood came about. Now you got Wall Street out there building complete neighborhoods that they're holding for rental properties. Now they see the value.
Dang.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely something down the road. And when I get down to Nashville, you're going to have to walk me through that one. But we've got a lot of vacant land up here. I've always had this idea of, I mean, they make tiny homes, but I don't know if I want to quite do tiny homes, but a little subdivision of smaller units like what you have, single family homes.
I think it would be awesome.
Yeah. And there's just a lot more work. I mean, I've got a project out here that I have in cash. It's been rented for 3 years, still holding it in cash, because once our guys are free, I'm splitting that lot and building 2 duplexes on it. And I don't want to go through the hassle of financing, and then I can't do the repairs I want while it's financed, so I have to sit with it in cash. But even that project is a little bit labor intensive for me and the crew that we have. So the subdivision thing is like I don't want to call it a pipe dream, but it's distant future.
So this guy built those subdivisions. He built about a dozen of them, and he built them all through USDA grant money. So he had very little bit of money in it. Really? Now the rule was you got to hold it for 15 years as an income-based property. Okay. So the one that we got, I bought it still under the guidelines under USDA. So either I had to buy it away from the USDA to not use it as an income-based property. USDA has a cap of $1,168 on the rent. That's their cap. So we're able to go up to that right there. And that's all, which is what we needed to go up to anyway. So it doesn't affect me. And they're forgiven $323,000 a year of the money I owe them. So in the end, there's going to be $1.3 million of the value of this neighborhood that I'm not going to pay because the USDA is forgiving it. So now they just forgave 323,000. I got 3 more years left on it from January to January to pay to get that forgiveness. And then at the end of the 3 years, then it's mine. It's no longer an income-based property. I can do whatever I want to do with it. But even as an income-based property, we don't allow anybody in with it. If you got under a 630 credit score, we don't rent to you. And I can hold that guideline on income based. We still want people because somebody with a 300 credit score, they don't care. They'll trash your property. What are you going to do? Mess their credit up?
Yeah.
I don't care. What does it really matter? I don't care. So those people don't care. 500 credit score don't care. So we go with 630 and we find out people with 630 want to build a house. They want to move. They want to do this. They want to do that. So they really are protective of their credit score. So you get a little bit different renter. Somebody that's worried about that right there. And we run our property. We run them real tight. We don't allow drugs. We don't allow anything. I mean, it's one and done. I mean, if you get busted, if cops show up at your house and over something, you're not going to stay there. We got kids that are there. We're going to protect that right there. But the second neighborhood I bought was built in 2006, so it doesn't have any government money tied to it. It's just we can do whatever we want to do with it. But he never changed the rules. He got to where, after the 15 years was up, he didn't go up on the rent. He didn't change the clientele. He didn't do anything. He just kept on moving.
That's awesome,
man. So
I have so much to read on.
Yeah, it's intriguing. All of this is.
Yeah, this was awesome. Your story is awesome. What you're doing is awesome. So all the bad reviews you're getting on Instagram and social media, I'm gonna quiet those a little bit. So
the funny thing is, I've been in business in the city for more than 30 years, or in all of Nashville. You can't. I don't want to say good luck. You can't come to this city and find one person that has ever worked for me that would have anything bad to say about me. And I've been through thousands of employees, at least 1,000 employees over the 30 years of being in business. I never fired anybody. Somebody, they fired themselves. And it was always communication and write-ups and, hey, you need to understand, you got to fix this right here. So nobody was ever mad at me about that right there. And nobody with the rentals have ever been really mad at me. I mean, people, this one guy now is, but I don't do things, I don't hurt people. I don't go out to cheat people. I go out to try and help people. We're good. We're good people. We're good at what we do. We really do. I come from such a poor area. I come from such a poor family. I want to help people. I don't want to hurt people. I'm not out here trying to hurt them. And you read those comments, and my wife told me, just quit reading the comments.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can't take people's praise, or you can't absorb too much of the praise. And then the flip side. You can't listen to or read all the comments, right? Because you know who you are. The people that know who you are. These are people sitting behind a keyboard, just wanting something to complain about. They'll move on and start complaining about the next thing. And I'm sure if you could get into the micro of their social media history, you could see that all they do is go hate on everything. So you can't take the highs, ignore the lows, stay in your lane, and kind of have blinders on and keep doing what you're doing, because obviously look where you're at now from where you started. So it's awesome.
I appreciate y'all inviting me on the show. I appreciate y'all letting me tell a story and let me share. I need to practice of it for sure. And
Well, cool. Yeah, I'll reach out and talk to Marcus about when we can have you on again. Maybe early March or late February, in a few weeks here.
Okay.
I mean, we'll just see what timing. Normally our normal days, like I told you before, are Fridays where we record these. So we're happy that we had the time to do it today. Obviously, very excited.
Yeah.
I'll edit this up and get it sent over to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, whether it's,
and you have all my social media information. I think Nick sent it to y'all.
Yeah,
I was on it for like an hour, maybe 3 hours total this weekend, just looking through your social media.
Cool.
And thank you so much. We'll be in touch for the show, and then when I get down to Nashville.
All right, brother. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day.
Pleasure
meeting both of you. Yes, sir.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
I don't know what.